The majority of salespeople overlook the biggest problem when it comes to doing any type of outreach. And today I'm going to outline exactly what it is and how you can make sure you don't fall prey to this. Check it out. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode today, I'm going to talk about one of the biggest problems that I find that salespeople do when it comes to their outreach. And many of us are doing it and don't even realize it. Well, before we dive into that, if this is your first time listening to our episode, please subscribe and we'll notify you every time we drop a new piece of content, especially if you've been listening for a minute. You know the content is always good. We're trying to bring some good stuff here. What I would like for you to do is go ahead and share it with one other person who could benefit from it. I'd greatly appreciate that. But let's dive into today's topic. Here's what I find. Most time when we do outreach, whether it's cold emails, we do a phone call to a prospect, or we're doing a message on LinkedIn, it's oftentimes a mediocre outreach attempt. And here's what I mean by that. Say your outreach attempt may be something like you're selling a HR solutions. Donald, I want to talk to you about an HR solution, or I want to tell you about our HR solution and how it can help you to solve X problem. Well, the problem that we find is that the problem isn't really the real problem. Let me explain that. Most times we identify the core reason why someone would leave a current vendor, the core reason why somebody would take an appointment with you is if that problem was real enough for them. So let's go back to the HR director. Do you feel, let's say it's a software for HR, let's say like help with like hiring and employee management and all of that jazz. Most companies, most brands you're going for, if you're going for mid-market or even SMBs, but most companies, especially enterprise level, already has something in place. What I find is that the problem that the salespeople paint is not the real problem. So we might say the solution they might push may not necessarily be the real problem that they're pushing, but they think it is. So if we're going to have an HR solution in place when it comes to hiring and it comes to making our helping with all things HR, we might say we can save you time, or we can save you money, or we have an HR solution that's amazing. Well, the chance is the prospect already has a HR solution. And if they don't have an actual software, they may feel they have an internal system. They're using Excel and Google Drive or whatnot. So they feel that they have something in place already. The issue that we need to tap on isn't just that. That's the surface level problem. What we need to give is an unconsidered need. We need to demonstrate the problem. The real problem is the problem. Am I making sense on that? So the real problem in this situation with the HR director, you can use ChatGPT and to go and do a search right now and just put what is the main problem when it comes to hiring with HR directors. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then let's just have some fun right now. Whether you use Claude or whatever, you can do the same thing for your prospect. And the number one answer usually is going to be the real problem that those HR directors are facing. What is the biggest problem HR directors face when hiring? ChatGPT does its thing and it comes back and it says finding quality candidates who actually fit the role. So maybe we can double tap on that. There's some more stuff here, cultural fit and stuff like that, time and cost of hiring. That's number 2. You see what I'm saying? Most people will probably double tap on that. We can help you to save time and we can save you cost in hiring. Well, every other sales rep is doing that. The number one problem here is finding quality candidates who fit. Now, everyone finds candidates. That's not an issue as well. We can use Indeed, we can use LinkedIn, and we can find candidates. The emphasis is on quality. So when it comes back to this, as a sales rep, can you help paint a picture to me of the problem so well that I can't not help but answer your email or respond to you in a favorable way? So I might send an email to this prospect and I'll say something around this idea of quality. Something to the nature of the subject line, the concern about the candidates. Concerned about the candidates. Now that's going to be intriguing. Somebody's reaching out to me about the potential concern about the potential candidates. Well, that's going to be intrigue me as HR director. I want to see what this email is all about. Then in the email, I'm going to put my first name, put the prospect first name, and then I will say something to the nature of, I'm gonna tie it back to that problem that I promised in the subject line, because whatever is in the subject line, that's the promise, that's the contract, that's the thing that I need to deliver on now, because that was intriguing or curious enough that they caused them to open it. So I'll say something to the nature of, um, I know you're getting a whole bunch of contact applicants for the whatever role they have, because it's a trigger. I know that they're hiring for it and they're getting people. The concern that 90% of the six, or make whatever number you have, you can make it up in this scenario. I'm making it up because I'm not in HR and solution, but might say 87% of the clients that we work with when it comes to hiring candidates has no issue with the volume. Their bigger concern is the quality and the person fit in their organization. If I can get you candidates that actually fit your organization based on what you're looking for, would you, a higher percentage of candidate that fits your profile, would you be open to learning more? The point here is that I'm emphasizing on the real problem, not the simple fact that I have an HR solution that's going to help them to save time. Yes, it's going to help them save time. Yes, it will help them save money in the long run. But the bigger pain here, the bigger headache, is that I don't have quality people, for goodness sakes. And that's where I'm tapping on. Again, this is not my field, so I'm just making it up as I'm doing this. The point I'm going back on, when you send your email, when you send your voice messages, when you do your LinkedIn outreach, when you do your phone call, the problem is that we are not focusing on the real problem. And this way helps you to identify what the real problem is. Use ChatGPT, for goodness sakes. Just again, or you can even go and ask. If you ask an HR director, and you were to one of your clients, and you ask them, what is your biggest headache when it comes to a HR solution, or when it comes to hiring? They're probably on the first answer going to give you the real thing, or within the first couple of even if you dig deeper on it. So they tell you, like, yeah, it just takes a lot of, it's so much waste. Well, what is wasteful about it? Well, I feel like I never get the right quality candidate. Bingo, right there. They start going down the rabbit hole and they tell you. I've just found that to be so true. But oftentimes, when we look at the email, it's the surface level feature and benefit. I'll give you another example. So you might say, like in my industry, it's sales training, right? I can reach out to you and say, hey, we can help to any CRO. We can help you, or a a sales director. We can help your sales reps to make more sales, or we can help your organization to make more sales. Everybody else is saying that. And yes, that is a problem. Every sales director wants to get more sales. But is that the real problem when it comes down to it? Is that really what's keeping them up at night? Is that really what's keeping them frustrated? And what it might keep them frustrated is, like, dang it, I don't want to be out of this job in 18 months. It's a lot of stress right now coming from the top. And the team is not necessarily performing. So they are concerned about their well-being. And yes, it does tie back to sales in some case. But what it comes down to is the individual team members are taking so much of their time and not providing the results that they want. So it's not necessarily the sales, but the individual team members are not doing the things that they need, and they're concerned about their well-being. So I can frame my email or my message all around that. One of the biggest things that our CROs are concerned about isn't necessarily about just only increasing sales. The biggest thing because they're making sales, the biggest thing they're concerned about is the longevity of their team, and they're building pipeline consistently over the next, let's say compounding pipeline. If I could show you a way to make sure your team has always reach a certain number of quota attainment, would you be open to learning more? Now, again, this may be a thing that I would tie back to that CRO's problem, because that problem is that headache that they're facing, that the sales team's not reaching their results, or the sales director. And then also, I might even I'm tapping into their emotions. That one of the biggest things of the frustration that most of the sales directors I'm working with facing right now. And the reason why that's so important is because I'm not just being a novice, I'm not just guessing, is that we already working with others, and this is what it is. But I'm not going to go with the surface level problem and say we can help you to increase sales. It's the individual sales reps that giving them the headache, that giving them the frustration, that they're not consistent, that they have ups months and down months. But I'm promising them that I can show them a way of how they can make each of those sales reps to continue to perform. Now, is that going to be intriguing enough? We can play with it. But the point I'm trying to make is that I'm trying to tap into the issue that the sales leaders face, and the real issue. You go back, try to any industry. You might sell, for goodness, let's say, what's something obscure? Say you might sell mosquito services, whatever, pest services to corporations, to HOAs or whatnot. you're going to find the same thing that you're going to come across is that you might say mosquitoes is a problem, but you might find the real problem here is that they're getting a lot of complaints or people having health issues in their communities, or they're not seeing they get negative reviews because their communities are not it's close to some ponds or whatnot, and mosquito may be a big issue for them at that point. That's the real issue. There's not so much as we can help you to make more money, or we can help you to increase your HOA fees. That's not what they're worried about right now. It's a real problem. So identify what the real problem is for those particular clients. Do your research with ChatGPT, use Claude, use whatever you want to do. And the best source all the time is go back to the individual customers that you have. I was working with the sales rep, and that's one of the things we talked about. If the problem is big enough, it doesn't matter what the rest of the email is like. I honestly believe that. If your problem is big enough, well, you want to keep the email short and simple, like, several lines, maximum, couple sentences you can utilize. I talked about this on a previous episode. You just want to keep that small. But if the problem is intriguing and relevant enough to me, your subject line, I mean, your CTA could be whatever. Would you be open to learning more? Would you want to book an appointment? Would you want to meet with our team? But if your CTA is, you may say we have a banger CTA, but your actual meat, the problem isn't necessarily landing, it doesn't matter at that point. So that is the key. Yes, a subject line that's intriguing. It caused them to go into read the email. The subject line is a promise. I promise you, basically, this is what we're going to talk about. When they open the email, it sparks their curiosity. They see that subject line detail, and then from there, they get intrigued because it ties back to a problem that they're facing, and then that leads to the call to action. Hopefully, this makes sense to you. The whole point I'm trying to make is that the problem is you're not focusing on the real problem off the time. And you need to go down to that root cause. If your messages focus on the root cause, I promise you your reply rates are going to be a lot higher. Whether it's a no, we're not interested, or yes, but the problem is what the issue is. It's not relevant to the prospect. If you want to get more information, you want to connect with me on this, go ahead and send me a message on LinkedIn. If you want to play with the idea, go use Claude or ChatGPT and ask, what is the main problem keeping blank, whoever your ICP, from fulfilling their role, and you will see that more than half the time, that is going to be the real problem, and you can test it out with some of your prospects. I want you to thrive. I want you to succeed. I want you to raise your level of thinking, but most importantly, I want you to go out and do big things. See you in the next one.